Captain Daeho Kim stood at the main window of Luna Station watching the stars shine in the darkness of space. The station was buzzing with activity as crew members prepared for the most important day in human history. Today was the day that Earth would meet its first alien visitors. The message had arrived 3 weeks ago. In perfect English, though no one could explain how the aliens knew their language. Ambassador Tolvac of the Zentari species had requested permission to dock at Luna Station for what he called a friendship meeting. The whole world had watched as governments scrambled to prepare for this historic moment. Daho checked his uniform one more time and walked toward the docking bay. His heart was beating fast, but he tried to stay calm. As the captain of Luna Station, he would be the first human to shake hands with an alien being. The thought made him both excited and nervous. In the station kitchen, Chef Bo Rum Park was putting the final touches on what she hoped would be the perfect welcome meal. She had spent days planning a menu that would show the aliens how friendly and welcoming humans could be. The smell of bulgogi filled the air as the meat sizzled on the grill. Bo Rum had decided to prepare traditional Korean food because she believed that sharing a meal was the best way to make friends. She had made kimchi that had been fermenting for just the right amount of time. The red pepper flakes gave it a beautiful color, and she knew the taste would be perfect. She also prepared bibimbap with fresh vegetables and a bowl of steaming white rice. Her assistant cook, Jin Woo, was setting up the dining area with the best dishes they had. Everything had to be perfect for this moment. Bo Rum tasted the kimchi one more time and smiled. It was exactly how her grandmother used to make it, with just the right amount of spice and sourness. The docking bay doors opened with a loud hiss and everyone held their breath. A strange ship unlike anything humans had ever seen slowly entered the station. The ship was silver and seemed to flow like water rather than being built with hard edges. Steam came out of small vents along its sides. Ambassador Tolvac stepped out of the ship and everyone gasped. He was tall and thin with blue skin that seemed to shimmer in the light. His eyes were large and completely black, and he had no nose that humans could see. Instead, he had small slits where a nose should be. His 3 arms moved gracefully as he walked forward. Captain Daeho stepped forward and bowed slightly. Welcome to Luna Station, Ambassador Tolvac. We are honored by your visit. The ambassador made a strange sound that his translator device changed into words. Greetings, Captain Kim the Zentari. People have watched your species with great interest. You have shown remarkable growth and strength. We wish to offer friendship between our peoples. The formal meeting went well as both sides exchanged gifts and talked about their different worlds. Ambassador Tolvac explained that the Galactic Federation was a group of 847 different alien species that worked together for peace and trade. He said that Earth had been chosen to possibly join this great community after 2 hours of official talks. Captain Daeho suggested that they move to the dining area for a meal. Chef Bo Rum had prepared something special to celebrate their meeting. The ambassador agreed and said he was curious about human food culture. Bo Rum felt proud as she presented the meal she had worked so hard to create. The table was set with small dishes of kimchi, seasoned spinach, and pickled radish. The main dishes were bulgogi and bibimbap, with everything arranged to look as beautiful as possible. This is a traditional meal from Korea on Earth. Bo Rum explained these dishes represent thousands of years of our cooking traditions. We hope you will enjoy them. Ambassador Tolvac looked at the colorful food with interest. His translator device was working to explain what each dish contained. He picked up the chopsticks that Bo Rum had shown him how to use and carefully lifted a piece of kimchi. Everyone watched in silence as the ambassador brought the fermented cabbage to his mouth and took a bite. His face changed immediately from curiosity to shock. His black eyes grew even larger and his blue skin began to turn purple. The ambassador made a choking sound and dropped his chopsticks. His 3 arms began to shake and he grabbed his throat. The translator device on his chest began to spark and make strange noises. Steam started coming out of the slits where his nose should better. Sunwoo Lee jumped up from his seat and ran to help the ambassador. Something was terribly wrong. Tolvac was making gurgling sounds and his body was shaking violently. His skin had turned from blue to dark purple and was getting darker by the second. Get the medical team now, Dr. Lee shouted as he tried to help the ambassador breathe. The alien was clearly in severe distress, and no one knew what was wrong. Emergency alarms began to sound throughout the station. Medical Staff rushed into the dining room with equipment and stretchers. They had never treated an alien before and had no idea what to do. Dr. Lee tried to remember everything he knew about first aid while the ambassador continued to convulse on the floor. Stood frozen in shock, watching the scene unfold. She could not understand what had happened. The kimchi was perfectly normal. She had eaten some herself just before serving it and felt fine. How could something so ordinary cause such a terrible reaction? The medical team carefully moved Ambassador Tulvac to the station hospital while Dr. Lee worked frantically to keep him stable. The ambassador breathing was weak and his skin color kept changing from purple to green and back again. His translator device had stopped working completely. Captain Deho watched in horror as the first contact celebration turned into a medical emergency. He knew that this incident could destroy any chance of Earth joining the galactic community. The ambassador might die, and it would be all because of a simple meal in the hospital. Dr. Lee connected monitoring equipment to the ambassador and tried to analyze what was happening. The alien biology was completely different from humans, with 3 hearts and a respiratory system that worked in ways he could not understand. The ambassador's vital signs were wild and chaotic. His body temperature was rising and falling rapidly, and the strange readings on the medical equipment made no sense. Dr. Lee had never seen anything like it in all his years of medicine. Boram waited outside the hospital room, feeling terrible guilt. How could her cooking have caused this disaster? She had only wanted to share the joy of good food with their new alien friend. Now she might have killed the first alien ambassador that Earth had ever met. Hours passed as the medical team worked to save Ambassador Tulvac. Captain Deho sent urgent messages to Earth explaining what had happened. Government leaders were panicking and scientists were trying to figure out what had gone wrong. Finally, after 6 hours of intensive care, Ambassador Tulvac opened his large black eyes. His skin had returned to its normal blue color and his breathing had become steady. Dr. Lee felt relieved but also worried about what this meant for human-alien relations. The ambassador managed to speak through a backup translator device. "What did you feed me?" he asked in a weak voice. "That substance was like poison to my body. I have never experienced such pain and burning sensations." Captain Deho tried to explain. "It was just kimchi, fermented vegetables that humans eat every day. We had no idea it could hurt you. We are deeply sorry for what happened." The ambassador looked confused. "You eat that burning poison every day? How is that possible? Are all humans immune to such dangerous substances?" Boram felt her heart sink as she realized that her simple act of friendship had created the biggest crisis in human history. The food that she loved and ate every day was apparently deadly to alien life forms. As news of the incident spread across the galaxy, the first contact celebration became known as the day that humans almost killed an alien ambassador with vegetables. The reputation of Earth cuisine was about to become the most dangerous thing in the known universe. The news of Ambassador Tulvac's near-death experience spread across the galaxy faster than light-speed travel. Within hours, every alien species in the Galactic Federation had heard about the humans, who nearly killed a diplomat with fermented vegetables. The story grew more frightening, with each telling on the crystal world of Chardon. Prime Director Vexnara of the Federation Health and Safety Council received an urgent message from the High Command. The message was simple but alarming. Investigate the human food incident. Immediately determine if Earth poses a biological threat to the galaxy. Director Vexnara was a being made of living crystal who had spent 300 years studying dangerous substances across the galaxy. She had investigated poisonous gases from the methane swamps of Titan 7 and deadly radiation from the uranium mines of asteroid belt Gamma, but never had she encountered a species that used poison as daily food. Within 2 days, a team of the galaxy's best scientists arrived at Luna Station. Dr. Quintal was a floating gas creature from the Nebula Confederation who specialized in biochemical analysis. His body looked like a cloud of green and purple gas, held together by an energy field. Researcher Kolyan belonged to the Hive Collective and looked like a giant insect with 6 arms and compound eyes that could see things humans could not imagine. The third member was Safety Inspector Mordic from the Stone People, whose body was made of living rock that had been shaped by thousands of years of wind and weather. He was responsible for classifying dangerous materials and had never found a substance He considered safe for consumption. Dr. Haejin Choi was assigned to help the alien scientists understand human food. She was Earth top expert on food chemistry and had been studying what made Korean cuisine so special for her entire career. Now she had to explain to aliens why humans ate things that nearly killed them. The investigation team set up their equipment in Luna Station main laboratory, the room filled with strange devices that hummed and glowed with alien technology. Dr. Quintel's floating body changed colors as he analyzed the kimchi sample. His gas form turned bright red when he detected the capsaicin from the Korean chili peppers. This substance registers as a Class A biological irritant, Dr. Quintel announced through his translator. The chemical compound known as capsaicin is banned on 423 Federation worlds. It can cause permanent damage to neural pathways in most known species. Researcher Kolyan used her compound eyes to examine the fermented cabbage under microscopic detail. Her 6 arms moved quickly as she operated different scanning devices. The bacteria count in this sample is extraordinary, she reported. These microorganisms produce lactic acid at levels that would dissolve the shell structures of 12 different member species. Safety Inspector Mordick's stone body rumbled as he spoke. In his deep voice, the garlic and onion compounds contain sulfur elements that are classified as toxic waste in Federation space. The methane-breathing species of the Titan colonies would die instantly from exposure to these chemicals. Dr. Haejin Choi tried to explain that these ingredients were completely normal for humans. We eat garlic and onions in almost every meal, she said. They help prevent sickness and make food taste better. The fermentation process in kimchi creates healthy bacteria that help our digestive system. The alien scientists looked at each other in shock. Dr. Quintel's gas form turned pale yellow, which meant he was confused. How can your species consume materials that would kill most other life forms? Are humans naturally immune to these toxins? The investigation continued for several days as the team analyzed every ingredient in the Korean meal. The soy sauce contained sodium levels that would cause immediate organ failure in the salt-sensitive aquatic collective. The sesame oil had compounds that triggered deadly allergic reactions in any species with fur or feathers. Even the plain white rice caused problems. When researcher Kolyan ran it through her analysis equipment, she discovered proteins that several species could not digest. The rice would cause intestinal blockages in the silicon-based collective and fermentation problems in the gas giant dwellers. Dr. Haejin Choi watched in amazement as the aliens found danger in every single ingredient. This is just normal food, she kept saying. We feed this to our children. Every Korean person eats kimchi almost every day. Some people eat it 3 times a day with every meal. The alien scientists could not believe what they were hearing. A species that fed poison to their offspring was beyond their understanding. Dr. Quintel prepared his preliminary report while his gas form flickered with nervous energy. According to our analysis, he announced, humans appear to have evolved specifically to consume substances that are lethal to other life forms. Their digestive systems can process materials that we classify as industrial waste. Their tolerance for biological irritants exceeds any known species in the galaxy. Safety Inspector Mordick added his findings. The combination of these substances creates what we call a synergistic toxicity effect. Each ingredient becomes more dangerous when combined with others. This kimchi substance is more hazardous than the chemical weapons used in the galactic wars. The team also discovered that Korean cuisine was just one example of dangerous human food. They requested samples of foods from other Earth cultures and were horrified by what they found. Chinese food contained something called MSG that was banned as a neurotoxin on most worlds. Indian food used spices that were classified as biological weapons. Mexican food had peppers that registered higher on the danger scale than military-grade irritants. Italian food seemed safer until they discovered that the tomatoes were from the nightshade family, which was considered a poison plant by most galactic botanists. The garlic and onions appeared again, making even simple pasta sauce a deadly combination. Dr. Haejin Choi realized that the aliens were not just studying Korean food, but all human cuisine. She tried to explain that different cultures had developed different ways of preparing food over thousands of years. Each region used local ingredients and cooking methods that worked for human biology. but the alien scientists only saw danger everywhere they looked. They found toxins in coffee beans that would kill the crystalline collective. Alcohol in human beverages was classified as a Class B poison that damaged cellular structures. Chocolate contained compounds that were fatal to most mammalian species. The investigation team worked around the clock creating detailed reports for the Federation Council. Their findings were shocking to the galactic community. Humans were not just immune to dangerous substances, they actually sought them out and consumed them for pleasure. Dr. Quinal final report stated that humans had the most dangerous diet in the known galaxy. Every meal consumed by the average human contained enough toxins to kill multiple alien species. The report recommended immediate quarantine of all human food products and suggested that humans might be too dangerous to join. The Federation researcher Kolyan added her own concerns about human biology. If humans can eat these substances without harm, what other dangerous adaptations might they possess? Are they immune to other toxins that we consider lethal? Could they survive in environments that would kill other species? Safety Inspector Mordick made the final recommendation. He suggested that all human food be classified as weapons of mass biological destruction and that humans be prohibited from bringing any food items into Federation space. The investigation team transmitted their reports to Federation headquarters, where the High Council would decide what to do about the human food crisis. The galaxy was about to learn that Earth cuisine was more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Dr. Jin Choi sat alone in her laboratory looking at a simple bowl of kimchi. She had eaten it for lunch without thinking about it. Now she realized that this ordinary fermented cabbage was considered a weapon of mass destruction by the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. The investigation was complete, but the real crisis was just beginning. The Galactic Federation would soon vote on whether to ban human food forever or whether to ban humans from the galaxy entirely. The future of Earth's relationship with the cosmos hung in the balance over a bowl of spicy vegetables. The Great Assembly Hall on Harmony Point Space Station had never seen such a gathering. Every species in the Galactic Federation sent representatives to hear the results of the human food investigation. The hall was filled with creatures of every shape and size, all talking about the same thing: the dangerous humans and their poison cuisine. Chancellor Yermuth of the High Council stood at the center podium. His ancient species, the Timekeepers, had been alive for millions of years and had seen many strange things across the galaxy, but even they had never encountered anything like human food habits. The investigation results are clear. Chancellor Yermuth announced to the assembled delegates human cuisine contains more hazardous materials than the chemical weapons stockpiles of most civilizations. Every single ingredient tested positive for substances that are banned as toxic waste in Federation space. The delegates murmured in shock and fear. The aquatic collective representatives, who lived in pure water environments, could not believe that humans consumed salt in such high quantities. The crystal beings who fed on mineral energy were horrified to learn that humans ate organic matter that contained deadly bacteria. The hive collective delegate clicked her mandibles nervously. We have analyzed over 100 different human food samples, she reported. Each one contains multiple compounds that would cause instant death to our species. The fermentation process they use creates toxins that could wipe out entire colonies. Dr. Quinal floating gas form appeared before the assembly through a holographic projector. His report was the most detailed. The substance they call kimchi contains 47 different chemicals that are classified as biological weapons under Federation law. The capsaicin alone could be used to torture prisoner safety. Inspector Mordick's stone body creaked as he stood to address the assembly. The humans do not just eat these dangerous substances. Occasionally, he stated, they consume them daily, often multiple times per day. Children are given these toxins from a very young age. Their entire species appears to be addicted to consuming poison. The debate that followed was heated and frightening. The desert walkers, who survived on photosynthesis alone, could not understand why any species would need to eat such dangerous things. The energy beings who fed on solar radiation thought that humans must be the most violent species in the galaxy. After 6 hours of discussion, Chancellor Yermuth called for a vote on emergency resolution 2387, the resolution would classify all human food as weapons of mass biological destruction and ban them from all. Federation space, the vote was almost unanimous. With only 12 species abstaining, the resolution passed with 835 votes in favor. The ban was immediate and total. No human food products could enter Federation space, no cooking equipment could be transported, no recipes could be shared. Even the knowledge of how to prepare human food was considered dangerous information on Earth. The news was broadcast to every nation at the same time. President Jin-Woo Park called an emergency session of the United Nations as world leaders tried to understand what had happened. The Assembly Hall in New York was filled with confused diplomats who could not believe what they were hearing. Our breakfast is now considered a weapon of mass destruction, President Park announced to the stunned assembly. The Galactic Federation believes that kimchi is more dangerous than nuclear weapons. They think that soy sauce is a biological weapon. The Secretary General of the UN stood to address the assembly. How can this be possible? She asked. We have been eating these foods for thousands of years. Children grow up eating rice and vegetables. Our grandmothers cook with garlic and onions every day. Chef Bioram Park was invited to speak to the United Nations about the crisis. She stood nervously at the podium looking out at the representatives of every country on Earth. She had never imagined that her simple act of hospitality would cause such a global emergency. I only wanted to share our culture with our new friends, she said. Through tears, the kimchi I served was made with love using my grandmother recipe. I had no idea that something so normal to us could be so dangerous to them. The practical problems of the ban became clear immediately. Human diplomats and traders who wanted to visit Federation space would have to survive on specially approved nutrition paste. The paste was developed by Federation scientists and contained only the most basic nutrients needed for human survival. Ambassador Eugene Park was the first human to try the Federation-approved food substitute. She took one spoonful of the gray paste and immediately made a face that showed her disgust. It tastes like wet cardboard, she reported to the UN Assembly. It has no flavor at all, just texture and a slight chemical aftertaste. The nutrition paste provided everything the human body needed to survive, but it was completely flavorless. The Federation scientists had removed anything that might be considered dangerous, including salt, sugar, and any kind of spice. The result was food that kept humans alive but made them miserable. Cultural exchange programs between Earth and the Federation were immediately suspended. The simple act of sharing a meal, which had been fundamental to human diplomacy for thousands of years, was now considered an act of biological warfare. Human restaurants on space stations were forced to close. The media across the galaxy had a field day with the story. News programs ran sensational reports about the poison-eating humans and their death cuisine. The most popular show was called Deadly Delicacies, which featured dramatic reenactments of aliens being poisoned by human food. Some alien species began to view humans with fear and suspicion. If humans could eat substances that would kill other species, what other dangerous abilities might they have? Were humans naturally immune to other toxins? Could they survive in environments that would kill everyone else? The fear was not entirely unreasonable. Dr. Hae-Jin Choi had started researching human dietary adaptations and discovered that humans could indeed eat many things that were poisonous to other species. Humans could consume alcohol, which was toxic to most life forms. They could eat chocolate, which contained compounds that were fatal to many mammals. The ban created a new image of humans in the galactic community. They were no longer seen as a friendly species seeking to join the cosmic neighborhood. Instead, they were viewed as dangerous beings who consumed poison for pleasure and might be too hazardous to interact with safely on Earth. People continued to eat their normal meals, completely unaware that they were consuming what the galaxy considered to be weapons of mass destruction. Families sat down to dinner with kimchi and rice, having no idea that their meal could kill hundreds of alien species. The irony was not lost on human scientists. Dr. Hae-Jin Choi published a paper explaining that human cuisine had evolved as a form of medicine and preservation. The spices and fermentation processes that aliens found so dangerous were actually humanity's sophisticated methods of preventing disease and preserving food. But the Federation was not interested in human explanations. They had made their decision based on scientific evidence human food was too dangerous to allow in civilized space. The ban would remain in effect until humans could prove that their cuisine was safe. The crisis deepened when several Federation species began developing their own extreme food movements. Inspired by stories of human cuisine, young aliens started experimenting with mildly irritating substances, trying to recreate the intense experiences they had heard about the galaxy. Health Authority issued warnings about copycat food poisoning incidents across multiple worlds. Alien teenagers were being hospitalized after trying to eat things that were only slightly less dangerous than human food. The human food crisis was spreading. Beyond Earth, President Jin-Woo Park addressed the world in a televised speech. "We stand at a crossroads in human history," he said. "Our food, which represents thousands of years of culture and tradition, is now banned across the galaxy. We must find a way to prove that we are not a dangerous species." The speech was broadcast to Federation space, where it was translated into hundreds of alien languages. The message was simple but profound. Humans were not trying to threaten anyone, they were simply trying to share their culture and traditions through the universal language of food. But the damage was done. The Galactic Federation had made its decision, and changing it would require something extraordinary. The ban on human cuisine was just the beginning of a crisis that would test the relationship between Earth and the cosmos. As the news settled in around the world, people began to realize that their everyday meals had become the most controversial topic in galactic politics. A simple bowl of kimchi had started a crisis that threatened to isolate Earth from the rest of the universe forever. 6 months after the Federation banned, young aliens across the galaxy began to whisper about the forbidden human food. The official news programs called it dangerous poison, but the younger generation was curious about what could be so intense that it nearly killed Ambassador Talvik in the neutral space station New Kepler. A young Zentari named Kixara met with her friend Splishtar from the Aquatic Collective. They had been reading illegal reports about human cuisine on the underground networks and were fascinated by the descriptions of flavor and sensation. "Have you heard about the burning sensation that humans call spicy?" Kixara asked her friend. Her blue skin flickered with excitement as she spoke. "The reports say that humans actually enjoy pain when they eat." Splishtar bubbled in her water suit as she considered this information. "My research indicates that humans have developed tolerance for substances that cause what they call flavor explosions in their mouths. The intensity is supposedly beyond anything we can imagine." The two friends had been planning for weeks to find a way to experience human food. They had heard rumors that some humans were secretly operating food services in the Outer Rim stations where Federation authority was weaker. The risk was enormous, but their curiosity was stronger. Meanwhile, on Earth, entrepreneur Minho Jiang saw opportunity in the crisis. While the Federation banned human food, there was clearly demand for it among young aliens who wanted to experience the legendary intensity of human cuisine. He began developing a network of secret food transporters working with chemist Dr. Yoonji Kim. Minho started creating what they called gateway foods. These were diluted versions of Korean dishes that might be less likely to hospitalize alien consumers while still providing an authentic taste experience. "We need to start with the mildest possible versions," Dr. Yoonji Kim explained as she worked in her secret laboratory. "Maybe we can use just a few drops of soy sauce or a tiny amount of kimchi juice. The goal is to give them a taste without killing them." The first successful smuggling operation happened when Minho transported a small container of extremely diluted kimchi juice to the mining station Alpha Centauri 7. The buyer was a young crystalline being who paid more for the tiny sample than most humans earned in a month. The underground food network grew rapidly as word spread through secret channels. Human smugglers, like former restaurant owner Kyung-soo Bae, began opening hidden tasting rooms in the dark sectors of space stations. These establishments were more exclusive than the most expensive restaurants in the galaxy. The first alien to successfully consume human food without requiring medical attention was a brave young crystalline named Zixmore. He managed to eat a single grain of rice that had been seasoned with a microscopic amount of soy sauce. The experience changed his life forever. Zimmer described the sensation to his friends as tasting lightning. and feeling his consciousness expand beyond his physical form, the single grain of rice gave him sensations that he had never experienced in his 300 years of existence. The news spread through the crystal collective social networks. Within days, demand for human food experiences skyrocketed. Young aliens from dozens of species began contacting the underground network, willing to pay enormous sums for just a taste of the forbidden cuisine. A single kimchi dumpling could sell for more than a small spacecraft. The black market prices were incredible. A teaspoon of soy sauce sold for 10,000 Federation credits. A single clove of garlic was worth more than most aliens earned. In a year, the most expensive item was a complete Korean meal, which sold for the price of a luxury space yacht. Kyung-soo Bay opened the first secret human restaurant on the asteroid mining station Titan Prime. The restaurant was hidden in the abandoned section of the station and could only be accessed through a series of coded tunnels. Customers had to sign waivers accepting responsibility for their own death. The restaurant, called the Hidden Spoon, became legendary among young aliens across the galaxy. Reservations were impossible to get, and the waiting list was years long. The experience of eating there was considered the ultimate test of courage and sophistication. The Federation authorities were not ignorant of what was happening. Special Agent Torvak was assigned to lead a task force dedicated to stopping the illegal human food trade. He was a member of the Enforcement Collective and had spent decades tracking down dangerous smugglers. Agent Torvak raids on underground restaurants became famous across the galaxy. His team would burst into secret dining rooms, confiscating dangerous items like salt, pepper, and dried seaweed. The raids were broadcast on Federation news as examples of law enforcement protecting innocent aliens, but the raids only made human food more desirable. The mystique surrounding the forbidden cuisine grew stronger with each arrest. Young aliens began to see eating human food as a rebellious act against the conservative Federation government. The underground movement developed its own culture and language. Aliens who had successfully eaten human food without dying were called survivors and were treated with respect and admiration. Those who managed to eat multiple human dishes were considered heroes. Secret societies formed around human food appreciation. The most famous was the Brave Tongues Society, which met in hidden locations to share stories about their experiences with human cuisine. Members wore special badges that could only be seen under ultraviolet light. The black market also attracted criminals who had nothing to do with food appreciation. Organized crime syndicates began controlling the human food trade, charging protection fees from restaurants and smugglers. The underground food wars began as different criminal groups fought for control. Violence erupted on several space stations as gang members fought over shipments of kimchi and soy sauce. The Federation military had to intervene when a battle over a container of hot sauce resulted in the destruction of 3 docking bays on Europa Station. The situation became more complicated when some Federation species began developing their own extreme cuisine movements inspired by human food. The Desert Walkers started experimenting with mildly irritating sand spices. The gas giants began mixing chemical compounds to create burning sensations. Emergency rooms across the galaxy reported increasing numbers of food poisoning cases as young aliens tried to create their own versions of human cuisine. Most of these attempts failed badly since other species had not evolved to handle even mildly dangerous substances. Dr. Yoonji Kim received reports of the copycat food incidents and was horrified. We never intended for other species to hurt themselves trying to copy our food, she said. We were just trying to share our culture safely. The Federation Health Authority issued new warnings about the dangers of extreme cuisine experimentation. They created educational programs explaining why human food was uniquely dangerous and why other species should not attempt to copy it. But the warnings fell on deaf ears. The underground food movement had become too popular to stop. Young aliens across the galaxy were determined to experience the intense sensations that humans took for granted every day. Minho business empire expanded to include dozens of secret restaurants and hundreds of smuggling operations. He became known as the Kimchi King and was simultaneously the most wanted criminal and most admired entrepreneur in the galaxy. The irony was not lost on human observers. Earth had been banned from the galactic community because their food was too dangerous, yet that same dangerous food had become the most desired commodity in the galaxy. As the underground food movement grew stronger, the Federation government faced increasing pressure to reconsider the ban. Young aliens were demanding the right to make their own choices about what they consumed, even if it was dangerous. The black market for human food had created a new economy worth billions of Federation credits. It employed thousands of smugglers, transporters, and restaurant workers. The ban that was meant to protect the galaxy had instead created the largest illegal industry in galactic history. The stage was set for a confrontation between the conservative Federation government and the growing movement of young aliens, who believed that taste was a universal right. The human food crisis was about to enter its most dangerous phase. The crisis reached a breaking point when Princess Lexandra of the Royal Aquatic Court announced during a live galactic broadcast that she intended to try human cuisine. Her announcement sent shockwaves through the Federation government and divided the galaxy into two opposing camps. Princess Lexandra was the most beloved figure in the aquatic collective, and her words carried enormous weight across the galaxy. She stood before the cameras in her crystal palace surrounded by flowing water and spoke directly to billions of viewers. The Federation government has no right to tell us what we can or cannot eat, she declared. Her voice was calm but determined. I am an adult being capable of making my own choices if I wish to experience human cuisine. That is my decision to make. Her father, Emperor Neptune, was furious when he heard about his daughter's announcement. He immediately contacted the Federation High Command and issued a threat that shook the foundations of galactic politics. If any harm comes to my daughter because of human food, I will declare war on the entire human species. The threat was not empty. The aquatic collective controlled the largest military fleet in the galaxy and had never lost a war in their 1,000-year history. Emperor Neptune was known for keeping his promises, and his anger was legendary. But Princess Lexandra refused to back down. She had been following the underground food movement and was inspired by the stories of young aliens who had experienced the intense sensations of human cuisine. The ban felt like an attack on personal freedom. The announcement split the galaxy into two factions. The prohibitionists believed that human food represented an existential threat to galactic civilization and supported the ban. The liberationists argued that individuals should have the right to make their own choices about consumption. The prohibitionist movement was led by Chancellor Yermoth and the conservative members of the Federation Council. They organized massive protests on major worlds with signs reading, "Protect our species and human food kills." The liberationist movement was led by Princess Lexandra and included many young aliens who had already experienced human cuisine. Their protests were equally large, with signs reading, "Taste is a universal right and free the flavor." The situation became more complex when several Federation species began developing their own extreme cuisine movements. The crystal beings started experimenting with mineral compounds that caused tingling sensations. The energy beings began mixing different types of solar radiation to create what they called flavor bursts. Some species took the experimentation too far. The hive collective began producing foods that contained mild toxins similar to those found in human cuisine. The results were disastrous, as thousands of hive members were hospitalized with food poisoning. The Galaxy Health Authority declared a state of emergency as copycat food incidents increased across hundreds of worlds. The human food crisis was no longer just about humans, it was affecting the entire galactic community. On Earth, Master Chef Sang-Min Lee watched the galactic chaos with growing concern. He had spent 40 years perfecting Korean cuisine and felt responsible for the crisis. His food had become a symbol of rebellion and division across the galaxy. Chef Sang-Min Lee made a decision that would change everything. He volunteered to demonstrate the safety of Korean cuisine by personally preparing and serving food to a gathering of Federation ambassadors. The event would be broadcast live across the galaxy. The Great Tasting, as it became known, was held on the neutral space station Harmony Point. Representatives from 50 major Federation species agreed to participate in the demonstration. Each ambassador would try a carefully prepared mild Korean meal. Chef Sang-Min Lee spent weeks preparing for the event. He chose the mildest possible ingredients and prepared what he considered the safest Korean meal ever created. The menu included plain white rice with just a few drops of soy sauce and a tiny amount of kimchi juice. The space station medical facility was prepared for mass casualties. Dr. Sungwoo Lee led a team of human doctors while alien medical specialists stood by with equipment for dozens of different species. The event was considered extremely dangerous by Federation standards. On the day of the great tasting, billions of viewers across the galaxy watched as Chef Sang-Min Lee stood before the assembled ambassadors. He looked calm and confident as he explained each dish and ingredient. "This is the foundation of Korean cuisine," he said, holding up a bowl of plain rice. Rice has fed Korean families for thousands of years. It is simple, clean, and nutritious. The small amount of soy sauce adds flavor, while the kimchi juice provides beneficial bacteria. The ambassadors looked nervous as they examined the food. Even this extremely mild version seemed dangerous to most of them. Ambassador Tulvak was present, wearing a special protective suit and carrying emergency medical equipment. The moment of truth arrived as each ambassador took their first bite. The results were spectacular and immediate. Half of the ambassadors required medical attention as their bodies reacted to the unfamiliar substances. Their emergency medical teams rushed to help them, but the other half had a completely different reaction. Ambassador Zalcor from the Desert Walkers began to make sounds that her translator identified as expressions of joy. Her normally gray skin turned bright golden as she experienced flavor for the first time. "This is incredible," Ambassador Zalcor announced to the cameras after tasting this kimchi juice. "My species' traditional foods seem lifeless and empty. I can understand why humans are so passionate about their cuisine." The broadcast created a galactic sensation. Viewers watched in amazement as some ambassadors suffered while others experienced what they described as transcendent pleasure. The same food that nearly killed some aliens gave others the greatest sensory experience of their lives. The reaction divided the galaxy even further. The prohibitionists pointed to the ambassadors who needed medical attention as proof that human food was too dangerous. The liberationists focused on the ambassadors who had positive experiences. Princess Luxandra watched the broadcast from her palace and immediately announced that she would proceed with her plan to try human cuisine. Emperor Neptune repeated his threat of war while the galaxy held its breath. The economic impact of the food crisis became severe as the black market for human cuisine disrupted legitimate trade routes. Smuggling operations were worth more than most planets' entire economies. The Federation tax system was losing billions of credits to the underground food trade. Entire star systems began declaring independence from the Federation over the food ban. The Outer Rim territories announced that they would allow human food within their borders. The core worlds threatened to leave the Federation if the ban was not strictly enforced. The military was called in to stop food smuggling operations, but the smugglers had become too organized and well-funded. Space battles erupted between Federation patrol ships and heavily armed food transport vessels. The Great Food War had begun as different factions fought for control of the human cuisine trade. Some species supported the ban, while others demanded the right to choose their own food. The galaxy was dividing along lines that no one had anticipated. President Jinwoo Park of Earth watched the galactic chaos with growing concern. The simple act of sharing Korean food had created a crisis that threatened to tear apart the entire galactic community. The Federation government faced unprecedented pressure as protests erupted on hundreds of worlds. Young aliens were demanding the right to make their own choices about food consumption, while conservative factions insisted that the ban was necessary for public safety. The crisis reached its peak when the most powerful species in the galaxy, the ancient Eternal Minds, announced that they were considering withdrawing from the Federation. The Eternal Minds had been the foundation of galactic civilization for millions of years. If the Eternal Minds left the Federation, the entire galactic community would collapse, trade would stop, wars would begin, and billions of beings would suffer. The food crisis had become an existential threat to galactic civilization. The stage was set for the final confrontation that would determine the future of human alien relations and the fate of the galaxy itself. The Great Galactic Food War had begun, and no one knew how it would end. The galaxy held its breath as the ancient Eternal Minds prepared to make their announcement. The Eternal Minds were the oldest and wisest species in the Federation having existed for millions of years as pure energy beings, they had guided galactic civilization through countless crises but had never threatened to leave before Prime Mind Valthari spoke through the quantum communication network that connected all Federation worlds. Her voice reached every planet and space station simultaneously. Carrying the weight of millions of years of wisdom, we have observed the current crisis with great interest, she announced. The debate over human cuisine has revealed fundamental questions about freedom choice and the nature of existence itself. We are intrigued by the possibility of new experiences. The Eternal Minds had watched the great tasting with fascination. They had existed for so long that new sensations were extremely rare. The idea that a simple food could create such intense experiences was appealing to beings who had felt everything the galaxy had to offer. If the Federation continues to ban human food based on fear rather than understanding, we will withdraw our support. Prime Mind Valthari continued. The restriction of experience is contrary to the principles of growth and discovery that founded our civilization. The announcement sent shockwaves through the Federation government. Chancellor Yermuth called an emergency session of the High Council as panic spread through the administrative centers. The Eternal Minds had never made such a threat before. Without the Eternal Minds, the Federation would collapse. They provided the advanced technology that made faster-than-light communication possible. Their wisdom had prevented countless wars. Their departure would mean the end of galactic civilization as everyone knew it. Emperor Neptune of the Aquatic Collective saw an opportunity in the crisis. He announced that if the Eternal Minds left the Federation, his empire would follow them. Princess Luxandra supported her father's decision while continuing to demand the right to try human cuisine. The crisis forced Chancellor Yermuth to call for the Great Assembly, where all member species would have to vote on a new approach to the human food situation. The future of the galaxy would be decided by this single vote. Earth sent its most skilled negotiator, Ambassador Eugene Park, to represent humanity at the Great Assembly. She was accompanied by a team of chefs and scientists led by Dr. Woo-Sung Kim, who specialized in xenobiology and food science. Dr. Woo-Sung Kim had been studying the relationship between human evolution and cuisine for months. He believed that the solution to the crisis lay in understanding why humans had developed such a dangerous diet. The answer would change everything. The Great Assembly convened on Harmony Point with representatives from all 847 Federation species. The hall was filled with tension as beings who had been allies for centuries now stood divided over the right to eat human food. Ambassador Eugene Park stood before the assembly with confidence and dignity. She had prepared for this moment her entire career, knowing that the future of Earth depended on her words. Honored delegates, she began, we are here because of a misunderstanding about the nature of human cuisine. What you consider dangerous, we consider medicine. What you call poison, we call flavor. Dr. Woo-Sung Kim presented his research to the assembly, using holographic displays to show the evolution of human digestive systems and taste preferences. His findings were revolutionary and changed everything. Humans did not evolve to eat dangerous substances for pleasure, he explained. We evolved to use what you call dangerous substances as natural medicine and food preservation. The spices and fermentation processes that seem so threatening to you are actually humanity's greatest survival tools. The capsaicin in chili peppers kills harmful bacteria and helps preserve food in hot climates. The fermentation process in kimchi creates beneficial bacteria that protect against disease. The garlic and onions that you find so toxic are natural antibiotics that have kept humans healthy for thousands of years. The assembly listened in fascination as Dr. Woo-Sung Kim explained how human cuisine had evolved as a sophisticated system of biological defense. Every ingredient that seemed dangerous to aliens served a specific purpose in human survival. What appears to be a diet of poison is actually proof of human ingenuity and adaptation, he continued. We learned to use the natural world resources to stay healthy and survive in environments that would kill other species. The revelation changed the entire debate. The Federation scientists had been looking at human food as a collection of dangerous chemicals. Instead, they should have been studying it as an advanced biological system that had kept humans alive for millions of years. Ambassador Eugene Park seized the moment to propose a solution. Instead of banning human food, the Federation should study it to understand how humans had achieved such remarkable biological adaptations. The proposal led to intense negotiations that lasted for days. Representatives